guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new I Don't Work Here Lady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Alcoholic Neighbor Mistakes Me for the Dandelion Lady. Yeah, I don't know either. I live next door to an alcoholic. We bought the house over 6 years ago. Nice neighborhood near downtown. House next door seemed to be under renovation. Still is. Anyway, long story short, neighbor has shown her ass too many times to count, and I have transitioned from sympathetic to get the duck off my lawn, crazy lady. I also believe she has dipped into alcoholic encephalopathy. My lawn dude, that's his title in my phone name. Lawn dude. It keeps my life more simple to put where I know people from, so when they contact me I can remember why I have them saved, i.e. Beverly, co-worker, etc. Anyway, lawn dude is at my house doing his lawn dude thing when crazy lady accosts him about dandelions. Says he needs to do something about it. Poor lawn dude. I told him to ignore her and stay away from her, and do not do any work for her, because she has a history of not paying workers and accusing them of nefarious deeds during work to avoid having to pay them, and offering services for services, not true barter. This trade would be illegal in most areas of my country. No, I didn't tell him that part, just said to try and avoid her, and I wouldn't recommend her do any work for her. He said yes. She not seem okay. She smell like beer. English is his second language for lawn dude, but he gets his point across well. He asks me if he needs to do anything about the dandelions. I told him they are an issue, but I do not want to broadcast spray weed killer, lymphoma anyone, and I will get a dandelion tool to deal with them. Yes, I have dandelions. So does most of the street. So does crazy neighbor. In her world, everyone else is responsible for her issues. So her dandelions are my fault. Side-eye at the piles of trash bags and household debris she has across her entire front lawn and driveway. Beginning of lockdown, I had a bit of time on my hands. No social obligations, limited patience, needing to be seen at work. So I got out my dandelion tool TM I had bought and started to go, working my way from far side of lawn away from crazy neighbor. It was drizzling that day, so I had on a baseball cap and my raincoat over my usual outside work attire, yoga pants and a t-shirt. This is roughly 3 weeks after lawn do met neighbor. Now, here you have to understand I have had an lot of interaction with this woman. We have sat together over dinner. I have sat with her on her porch. She has been in my house. She knows me, or she should. Granted, that was at the beginning before I had decided she was beyond my capabilities. So crazy neighbor drives in her driveway, and I'm bopping along and at good pace, pulling out dandelions in my lawn with my earbuds in. I start to hear a shrill voice, so I look up and pull out my earbuds, and crazy neighbor is standing at the property line. She's been told to stay away, and asks me, "Are you the dandelion lady? Are you going to do my house next?" I'm like 10 feet from her lawn, where she is standing. I said, "Crazy lady, I live here. This is my house I'm working on." She squints at me, not a bot RN. "Yes, crazy lady, it's me, and no, I'm not doing your lawn. Go inside. You don't want to talk to me." Earbuds go back into ears. I look down and continue my lawn. Yes, crazy neighbor is in my phone as name, crazy neighbor. The next story is titled Head Start Karen. I was at the Mart of Wow. Finished stuffing my cart with a large grocery list and headed to the checkouts. They only had 2-man registers, with at least 5 carts waiting for each one, so I headed to the self-checkout area, where they have 2 checkouts with belts for larger orders. Luckily, someone was just finishing paying, so I was able to walk right up and start filling the belt. After 7 years on the business side of a register, 4 at the Mart of Wow, I am faster than almost every cashier at this store, so I get down to business and start ringing up as fast as I can. Enter our Karen. On the other side of the register is the line for the other large order self-checkout, so I am facing those waiting in line. I am pushing through my produce when I start hearing a hum and "excuse me" in a high-pitched voice, repeatedly. I look up, and in the seat of the cart opposite me is a 2-3-year-old girl dressed way too good for this place. She is waving at me and desperately trying to my attention. She keeps clearing her throat and repeating "excuse me, we need some help," and my favorite, "look at me." Her father, dressed way more normally for the store, keeps trying to get her to stop and explain that I am just a customer, but she is not having it, and he is having a hard time not laughing. My scanning faltered a bit as I muffled my own laughter. I soldiered, and she became more agitated. She even started hitting the shelf on the other side to get my attention. I finally finished my order, and they had barely advanced. As I finished paying, I greeted her with a friendly hello, grabbed my receipt and left. I could hear her having a fit as I walked out of the store. The next story is titled "You Should Have Bought from the Local Store." Some brief backstory. I retired from the Brown Truck Company, so anything you order online we will deliver, as long as it's under 150 pounds. I have 2 big boxes, leather side chairs, and 1 really big box leather love seat for a residential address. I'm putting the second chair on a side porch because it's covered and the driveway ends there, when an older woman comes out the side door. It's a pretty nice house, and she doesn't look like our favorite femme fatale Karen, so I started back to my truck to get the love seat on my 2-wheeler. I hear the dreaded "Excuse me." Yes, I need this furniture in my den, the old furniture in my garage. Yeah, okay. I start putting the last box on her porch. When I get the "Well, are you going to do it?" No. What came next was a torrent of profanity that would make a sailor blush. Getting called lazy and stupid for the last time, I yelled at her. I don't ducking work for the local furniture store or Amazon, and the reason the local furniture store charges you more is they deliver it inside your house. That went over like poo in the punch bowl. I paid your salary and you will do what I say or I will get you fired. That was the point where I went from yelling to deathly calm. Looked her dead in the eye and told her I work for Brown Truck Company. They signed my check, not you, and I'm a Teamster, so good luck getting me fired. I love the Pikachu face she made. As I was walking away, I turned back and told her the camera on the back of my truck got everything on video and audio. Then gave her our favorite line, "Have a blessed day." That's Brown Truck Company driver code for duck off. I feel for that father, he has a handful, and it is only going to get worse. The next story is titled "Thanks, but I still don't work here." I was a sales merchandiser, which is working for a company that represents different products throughout the store. Wally World was the store I worked in, and it was about 6 different stores throughout the week. People would see me with my lanyard, but wouldn't read what it said. I'd get between 10 to 50 different people per store asking me where things were. If it was close, I would help. If not, I'd tell them I don't work here or I'm not a store employee. Working in the different stores, each one was set up different, and I never wasted my time to try and remember where and which aisles items were at. I carried an iPad and would have so many tasks and a certain amount of time to finish them in. I wasn't allowed overtime, and I had to get my tasks finished. When it came to interactions with customers, I developed habits to avoid as many interactions as possible. One was if a customer tried waving me down from the other end of the aisle, I wouldn't acknowledge them and continued walking. Yes, that was an issue for a couple customers until they found out I wasn't an employee. Another one was that if someone asked me something or tried to get my attention when my back was turned, again, I wouldn't acknowledge them. That is where this story begins. I was doing something on my iPad when I hear someone behind me saying, excuse me. I just ignored them, figuring they were trying to get the attention of an employee. I got done with whatever I was doing on my iPad and was starting to turn to leave when she said, "You are certainly a nice-looking man," or something similar. Like I said, I was already turning to leave and I looked at her. Then she said, "I see that all you have to do to get help around here is to compliment you," or again, something similar. I looked at her then and told her I wasn't an employee and walked away. For one, I really don't consider what she did Karen-like behavior, but she still did embarrass me. The next story is titled "Karen, It's a Taste of Her Own Medicine." Disclaimer, my writing skills and grammar structure are not the best, so expect mistakes. We'll correct them later. English is my first language. The equals me, CK equals crazy Karen. M equals manager.cop1, cop2, cop3. Well, it had started out to be a good day. A quiet morning at home, coffee and breakfast, a nice shower, then a loving snuggle with my love. I had noticed my pantry was a little bare when I fixed breakfast, so I decided to go shopping. Under normal circumstances, I'm one of those weird guys that actually enjoy shopping. But with what's happening in the world currently, I try to keep my out and about times to a minimum. This includes showing off my Ant truck. Well, getting to Wally World was easy. Not that many people were there that early in the morning, so I relaxed a bit, headed in and started my shopping. Remember in previous posts of mine how I keep being mistaken for a store worker? Well, it happened again. Shopping was going smoothly, and I was moving quickly to get it finished before more people came to Wally World. I stopped briefly to straighten a few things on a shelf that someone left in Surrey when I heard the call of the Karen in the wild. As an ex-serviceman and police officer, I learned to be polite most times but not be afraid to rise the bar, so to speak. Nice equals nice in return. Rude equals rudeness right back at you. I asked without looking, "Yes? You need something?" "How rude was the response, then," shouted by CK. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." She then grabbed my shoulder and attempted to turn me to face her, getting madder when I forcibly slapped her hand away from my shoulder and told her asterisk touch me again, loose that hand. "Ree," she shrieked, "you assaulted me. Help, help, I'm being assaulted, help." Now, being ex-military, I know HW to project my voice. I turned to face her and shouted at the top of my lungs, literally into her face, "Enough. You grabbed me first, as the security cameras will show. Shut your mouth and get this through that concrete block you call a skull. I do not work here. Now get the hell away from me before I do something we both will regret." She stood there stunned, as if no one had ever dared to talk down or back to her in her entire life. That didn't last long, though. I could see she was winding up for a tirade, so I beat her to it. I said, "Shut your mouth and get moving, you old crow." My yelling must have been what attracted a worker, who in turn called the manager, knows as M for the story, and came running into the aisle just in time to see the Karen attempt a slap, which was turned aside with some force, leaving her holding her hand. She spotted M and stomped her way over to him and started her nonsense about that work, points at me, was rude and yelled at me, then slapped me and threatened to beat me up. I went and fired and arrested now. M separated us and talked to me himself while having a worker talk to her. I don't know, but Sapmion had called the police anyways, and several of them came swarming into the place looking hell-bent for leather. Were directed to the aisle we were in, and two confronted me. One confronted her. She immediately turned on the crocodile tears and recounted her story, now adding I was trying to kidnap her and assault her. It was then Cop 1 knew she was lying, kidnap and assault her. She stepped away and called Cop 2 over to her. They talked a few minutes and came back and told us both they think it's best to go view the store's security camera footage. I have yet to see a Wally World that doesn't have them all over the place. So we were escorted to the office, and the cops made us sit in chairs there. Me, I just kept quiet, answering question when asked. She kept on rambling, fake crying, and telling her story, which changed by the minute, hence, Crazy Karen. Cop 1 went into the inner office and came back out a few minutes later, stepped in front of me and asked if I want to press charge. "What?" CK spouted. "He assaulted me. I want him jailed right now." Cop 1, "After you grabbed his shoulder and tried to forcibly turn him to face you," she said to CK. "You are the one who started this whole thing and are guilty of assault." "What would you like to do, sir?" Looking at me. "Well, assault is a very serious charge." Well, at the same time, she cannot be allowed to harass other shoppers like that. Tell you what, I won't press charges as long as she banned from this Wally World permanently. She exploded at that and basically went nuts and started screaming as loudly as she could. No words, just wordless anger and hate-filled screaming. Then she got stupid. She grabbed a lamp from a close-by stand and charged at me with it. Cop 1, Cop 2 and Cop 3 had her down and in cuffs in a few seconds. She never got near me with the lamp. Last I saw of her until a later date, which is a story in itself. We'll post that at a later time. Was her being dragged out in cuff, having to be carried from her refusing to cooperate and playing rag doll in an attempt to not be arrested. I thought I had seen Crazy before. This one put them all to shame, kind of like encountering a nuclear Karen or something like that. I didn't see her again until I discovered her in Wally World, having changed her look a bit and hunting for me. After all this, I finished my shopping as quickly as I could, went back home and told my love what happened. He died laughing. He thought it was so funny. Had me laughing after a bit too at the absurdity of that Karen. The next story is titled Mistaken as a Staff Member. First, let me set the stage. I was pushing a shopping trolley through the store, wearing a bright orange hoodie that said Alcatraz Psycho Ward in big black letters on the back, also smaller on the front. As I was picking up breakfast cereals for my family, I heard someone say, "Excuse me." I turn around and see a middle-aged man behind me. I thought I was in his way, so I moved back to my trolley and carried on walking. Then I heard him say, "Excuse me," in a more indignant tone. I turned to him again, and he snaps at me. That wasn't very professional now, was it? Confused, I said, "Pardon? Well, I need help, and you just walked off." I replied, "Sorry, I didn't know." He then asks me where a certain brand of teabag was. I tell him I can't help him as I don't work in that store. Yes, you do. He snaps back at me, you're in uniform. I explain that it's most certainly not uniform. Meanwhile, my partner has gone to find a staff member. They return not a minute too soon because this is causing the onset of an anxiety attack. This man still didn't believe that I wasn't a staff member, even when an actual staff member, in green and black with a name badge, told him that I wasn't a staff member and that the store was not the psycho ward in Alcatraz. The next story is titled Now I Am the One with Heartburn. I was at the pharmacy waiting to get my flu vaccine yesterday. It was right after work, and the place was packed with customers trying to get their prescriptions and vaccines. I'd brought my book and was prepared for a wait. An elderly man, 80 plus, shuffled up and was trying to get the pharmacist's attention. She politely told him to wait in line. In a hoarse voice, he asked where the Alka-Seltzer was. Since I was right by him and knew where these items were, I got up and showed him. He asked for some help reading the labels to get the right quantity and strength. I was happy to help. He then started describing some personal symptoms and asking me if there was anything he could take over the counter. I explained I wasn't a pharmacist and couldn't answer that. He started getting huffy, saying he just wanted advice. I again told him I wasn't sure and started to walk away. He followed me, asking what I would take for this condition. I answered him and said, "But please ask the pharmacist. I'm not sure if it's side effects or how it would react with other medications." He said, "See, not so hard, which aisle is that on?" I told him and he shuffled back to that aisle, found the medication and went to the front of the store to check out. Lord, I hope that man is feeling better and the meds cause no issues. The next story is titled Or Once, A Wild Karen Was Nice. In some of my previous posts, I have stated that I'm an over-the-road driver and have been for 6 years now. I also have recently dyed my hair sonic blue. In that aspect, we come to this tale. I had to pick up some much-needed truck supplies, so I parked at a truck stop across from the Mart of Walls and ducked in there to get my supplies. Upon entering it, I noticed that this one has a similar layout from the one I used to work at many years ago. As I'm wandering around, thinking about my mental list, an older lady, about 6 to 5-ish, stops me. Mind you, I'm wearing my company's logo on a specialty-made baseball shirt, baseball manager pants, which were platinum white, black boots, and still had my blue hair. She looks up at me and says, "Excuse me, you seem very busy, but can you get this item for me?" Holding up a picture of some coffee. I immediately follow her back to the coffee aisle, ask her how many cans she needed, and grab 2 for her. She thanks me, and I go back to my shopping. As I finish everything and head to check out, I hear some whispering behind me, then a shout of "That's the guy, the one with the blue hair." I freeze, wondering what I did. Up walks a lady, about mid-30s, with a pixie cut, and behind her, a sweet old lady, being helped along by a store manager. As they get closer, I look for my escape route, in case things go south. This employee deserves a raise for helping my mother out. Not many people would do that. The younger lady said, looking at the manager, "I'm sorry I can't do that. He doesn't work here, but thank you for pointing him out to me." The manager replied, "What? You mean he helped out without even being an employee?" She replied, shocked. I chose this moment to chime in. Yes, I did. This layout is similar to a store I worked at years ago, so I knew where things were to a certain degree. Besides, your mother reminded me of my grandmother, and I know I'd get a Gibbs slap from hell if she knew I didn't do the right thing and help those in need, I said politely, which got the manager and the mother laughing. "In any case, thank you for helping her. Your stuff is on me," she said. "That's not necessary. I got it, just pass it forward." I replied and went back to my cart, getting ready to enter the line. That's when I realized I forgot my laundry pods. "Crap," I said, mostly to myself. "What?" she asked. "I forgot my Tide Pods." "Oh well," I sighed. "Here, I'll pay for mine, and give it to you. I grabbed the wrong kind anyway, so it would save me the hassle." She replied, then before I could protest, had whipped into a self-checkout, paid for them, bagged them, and tossed them in my cart. "You have a nice day." I stood there speechless for a second, then finally got enough air to reply back, "You too." Paid for everything else, and toted my haul back to my truck. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.